I have quite a long speech, and I'm sure you're all going to be happy standing there for this length of time. But it's a big book, and it's worthy of mention, and all of the stories in it are worthy of mention. And I read it from cover to cover, and you're going to hear my impression of every single story. And for those of you who are authors, well, I would be glad of that if I were you. Okay, I'm honoured, of course, to have been asked to launch Rich and Rare. Aside from all else, it's a beautiful looking book with Sean Tan's lovely, lovely cover. Illustration, with his cover illustration, which I understand was initially meant to be an inside illustration, and then Meredith brilliantly decided that it was in fact meant to be a cover, and of course it was. Nothing is going to keep Sean Tan down. So, and then he offered to colour it, and he did it absolutely beautifully, and I wore boots to match the cover. So thank you, Sean, for letting me wear my favourite boots. Okay, so, but it's also a reminder that a book is an object of desire, and for me a book will always come above an e-book, although some books are so big you might want them also in e-book so that you don't have to lug them around in your handbag. As for the innards, when I was young I hated that word, innards. As for the innards of this lovely object, well, the name says it all. For me, naming is ultimately important. And there are a lot of authors who are actually uncertain about the things they write. And some of you may be this kind of author, and so uncertain that you let the publishers name your books and stories for you, or give the publishers veto right over your titles, or allow them to choose them in general. On Facebook the other day, I saw one writer offering 2 titles to the world and asking the Facelanders to decide for her. I would kill myself before I would ever do that. Because for me, naming is really, really important. And so I thought this title was great, but the test is, you know, in the tasting of the pudding. Was it going to be not only just a beautiful title, a great title, a powerful title, but was it a fitting title? So of course then I dived in. And it's an evocative name, Rich and Rare, because it has a veritable multitude of meanings. Let's look at rich. Rich can mean wealthy, as in having wealth or great possessions, abundantly supplied with resources, means or funds. Wealthy, having more than enough to gratify normal needs and desires. Now obviously this can't refer to the contributors, because there are brilliant and wonderful authors included in this collection who would be wealthy if quality translated directly to coin. Strangely, the arts do not work in this way. For many writers, the antonym would better serve. Who knows what the antonym of rich is?
Poverty.
Poor. Of course, we hope the book will sell brilliantly and earn great wealth for its illustrious publishing house. But money isn't everything, as Justin Dath's story, Bringing Louisa to Life, reveals. Merely owning a beautiful, costly thing isn't nearly as valuable as being able to use it. Scott Gardner's lovely, idealistic soliloquy, Thingless, questions the value of things in general and makes me yearn for thinglessness. And Hazel Edwards, I've got it. Hazel Edwards' compellingly written Scam tells the story of a rich kid who's no Richie Rich, and a kid who recognises that love is a far more valuable thing than wealth. Mo Johnson's stories about how we can resist riches, especially those offered by our wise parents. But rich has other meanings too. Rich, as in powerful. Sorry, powerful, mighty. I don't think you're listening. Rich as in powerful, mighty, strong, vivid, resonant, full-bodied. And maybe this meaning of the word is best used to describe the truly Herculean job of the author wrangling and editing that would have had to be undertaken by Paul Collins, who is Ford Street, to produce this noble tome. So I think we can give that meaning of rich to Paul. Rich can also mean ironic, amusing, irritating, annoying, ridiculous, and unlikely. I loved Philip Gwynne's ironic story of a richness of tidiness and a rare woman in a tidy town. I hate that tidy town idea, and I loved his story because it really plays with it. Rich can mean full, abounding, plentiful, loaded, stuffed, heavy, and dripping. I would say that describes the collection as a whole, a feast of a book right down to the lovely foreword by Sophie Masson, and in fact she uses that metaphor to describe the book. Rich can also mean heavy, indigestible, cloying. unhealthy, buttery, fatty. I think we can skip that meaning. It doesn't describe anything in the entire collection. However, we have rich as in fertile, abundant, plentiful, productive, fruitful, lush. Ian Irvine's story, Darkness Visible, contains a richness of wonderful description of the fantastic. He says things like, a madman's tower built on a knife-edged ridge. He really is gifted at being able to describe place. Michael Pryor tells of a fruitfulness of riches which may not be for everyone in his wonderfully appealing story, Magic for Sale, which contains a shop I would love to visit and be tested by. There are abundant laughs in many of the stories. James Roy's Carpet Capers, a great slapstick humour in Michael Gerard Bauer's story, The Knitting Needle Ninja, and in Adam Wallace's Vengeance Tale, Master of Cheffery, a tournament of taste. For those of you who watch those cooking shows, I think that one's for you. There are many stories rich in kindness and compassion. Suzanne Gervais' Grandma in the Sky. I particularly liked Catherine Bateson's quirky humour in The Stray Dog Cafe, one of my favourite titles in the collection, which has a layer of sadness underneath its humour that adds depth. And Tanya McCartney writes a charming story of rare attraction in The Bad Boy. Libby Haythorne's story, Father and Son, is rich in the sense that it tells of an abundance of misunderstanding, which so often happens in family. Janine Bryan's story, The Art of Illusion, rises fertile from the riches of history. And I love the little tidbits of history that she offers about a particularly fascinating culture and a period of history when she describes the Terracotta Army. The idea of a man whose fear of death led not only to a stunning production of culture in those statues, where every single one of them has a different face, but to him sending 8,000 people out in search of an elixir of immortality, a riches of madness, I'd say, a lush fear. Simon Higgins' wonderful story, Tomodachi, The Silkworm and the Leaf, is rich also in historical detail and brilliantly choreographed, of course, battle scenes. He's probably acted them all out for himself. Is he here? I didn't think so. Another kind of clever courage entirely shows itself in Bill Condon's You're Dead, Jason Delaney, with a rare girl bully. Now, I have to say I was beaten up by several girl bullies, and they are much worse than the boy bullies. This book is also rich as in opulent, gorgeous, plush, luxuriant, splendid, valuable, ornate and fine. Kerry Greenwood tells a fine story in The Glass Egg, unravelling a crime with the delicacy of a mistress of the art. I would say Lucy Sussex's story, Angelito, is very fine, my personal favourite in the collection. A chilly, lovely story of a child caught up in the profound mysteries of another culture. I especially love the idea of Muertito, the little dead person, and hummingbirds as messengers of the gods, though I've always seen these as being cats for myself, which is probably why I loved Sean Tan's The Greatest Cat That Ever Lived, which celebrates a different kind of thinglessness. The idea of creatures that own nothing and therefore cannot be owned. I particularly love the illustration from Sean's story, which if you get a chance to leaf through, it's a gorgeous illustration. I also love the cleverness of Sean Williams' Noah No One and The Infinity Machine. Brilliant title again, with its manyness of cats called Quicksilver. That is as rich and lovely box as a box of good chocolates. Then there's the other word in the title, rare. Of course, given the artistic ink, if you've looked at the graphics of the ink, aka Dexter-like blood splatter, we might well take it to mean rare in the sense of bloody. That is juicy, pink, forgive me for gagging because I'm a vegetarian, underdone blue. There is a raw, dark story in the hurt and pain in Tracy Hawkins' haunting story, I Can't Sleep, and a visceral creepiness in the ever-approaching child in Gary Crew's strange and chilling story of vengeance, Dr. Lovechild Regrets. There's also a chill that bites in Doug McLeod's The Ghost in the Stereoscope. There's a breathtaking streak of viciousness in Michael Hyde's Vinegar Straps that I recognise from my own school days, and I bet a few of you do too. That would easily deserve to be called rare in the sense of being raw and bloody. It's also pretty funny in places. One of my favourite lines from the book, of course I can't reach it now and I'm not going to tell it to you in that case. I'll read it to you later if you want to hear. But rare also, oh yeah, okay, thank you. I'll read the bit. Where he says, some of the boys wore tiny caps on top of their heads. Nathan, whom I ended up playing cowboys and Indians with after school, had one as well, plus long curly loops of hair trailing down the front of his ears. He told me his father was a rabbi. Oh good, I said. I just love that incidental humour, and that seems to be a particularly Australian kind of humour too, that deadpan humour. But rare also means infrequent, uncommon, unusual and exceptional, extraordinary, odd and singular. Sean McMullen's time slip tale, The Time Machine, contains a rare and beautiful longing for the richness and rarity of the real. Oh, I hear you, Sean. But it also mines the fertile ground of history. In the same vein is the cleverness of George Ivanov's brilliant retake of the fabulous film Invasion of the Body Snatchers, one of my favourite, and his story, Music of the Pod People. And he manages that rare feat of being both ironic and pretty damn compelling. Sugar is Sweet by Julie Fisson tells the story of the rare ability to see the riches in everyday miracles that most of us miss. There's a rare mercy in Deborah Abella's The Soldier Who Fell from the Sky, a rare cleverness in the father who sells food rather than mining gold, in The Boy to Beat Them All, in Sue Berzinski. How do you say your name? Gorstinsky. I've never said it out loud before, forgive me. And again, incidentally not only mined from the riches of history, but based on a true story, which sounds pretty incredible to me. Paul Collins Jalindal is an extraordinary character in general, if you've ever read any of those books. Courageous, humble, full of doubts, my favourite kind of character. But in The Black Sorrows, awesome title, we discover there might be a rare drop of something truly exceptional in her. And I'll leave you to discover that for yourselves. The story contains one of those lovely rare lines that makes you want to say it out aloud. Everything is a test, said the angel. I love that line. I actually want to write something about that line. Unusual is the right word for Lorraine Marwood's strange and enchanting dialogue between Brodie and some frogs in The Frog Diaries, another great title. David Miller's Search is a wonderful, chilly story of a boy who wants to be a hero, has the rare quality of being able to send a real shiver down your spine with very little happening. Sandy Fussel's potent story Lionheart contains a wonderful bloody courage. And I mean bloody in the bloody sense as well as the bloody sense. Oliver Pomovan's story, My Brother's Keeper, tells of the richness sometimes hidden inside a person, while Jenny Mountford's Trapped is a story rich in claustrophobic consequences. Only 2 more pages. Archimedes, and if it's your story you're still standing waiting for, you'll be glad I got to the end. Archimedes Facilio's story, The Bravest Person I Know, is a story that is rare in the sense of being about a character who's rare because he sees the extraordinary. Not just about the bravest person in the story, but the person telling the story who sees that rare, strange bravery. I love Kirsty Murray's strange, potent little story of riches hidden in the earth, pretty strange riches, in The Green Boy. It has the same lovely strangeness and originality I found in Lucy's story and again in Gabrielle Wang's beautiful story of 2 different kinds of riches told in a story of 2 boys who have the same face. Beautiful, strange story. Sophie Laguna's heartfelt, profound little essay, Hope Cannot Be Photographed, has the same rare, profound yearning as Scott Gardner's Thingless. Again, both great titles. There's a beautiful, succinct sweetness in Mark McBride's doodling, accompanied by my other favourite illustration in the collection. And it made me laugh because while his grandmother, Mark's, used to say, worse things happen at sea, whenever anything bad happened to him, my grandmother used to say, better than being murdered by a maniac. Which was pretty tough when you think about it. We were like 6 at the time. The book ends with a little richness of visuals in Lee Hobbs' lovely Truthful, A Writer's Afternoon. Those of you who are writers will recognise yourself in that for sure. The poetry in the form of Michael Wagner's The Ever Sad Boy, beautifully evocative Story World by Cheryl Clark, and the delicious snippet of poetry from Meredith Costain, What I Am, What I'm Not, which is both rare in the sense that it's both playful and profound. And in fact, this gives me the perfect moment to invite Meredith to actually give us a little taste of the book in the form of a poem. So she's going to do that now, and Adam is going to act that out. With props. And Mitch did the illustrations. I forgot to mention that. Hello, she did the illustrations.
Yay, Mitch.
I hope I didn't miss anybody because you're going to be really upset given I named everybody else.
Do you want me to hold you back? You all right? Oh, sorry.
What I am, what I'm not. I'm not a sport kid. Ball chaser, track racer, run around a court kid.
Sorry.
I'm not a tough kid. Fight picker, lunch picker, lean and mean and rough kid. I'm not a...
Wait. Sorry, wait.
I'm not a cool kid. Brand wearer, secret sharer, hang out at the pool kid. I'm not a rebel kid. Hair raiser, trailblazer, breaker of the rules. I feel like me, I'm a library kid, a story-loving geek kid, daydreamer, word weaver, read 3 books a week kid.